This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by our honored Switch Knight, Rick Caceres.
Hi everybody, I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, our special Nindies Roundup Spectacular.
Yeah, honestly, I did not really expect us to do another podcast so quickly, but once this Nindy presentation came out, we just had to jump on it.
It did sneak up on us. I mean, Nintendo's been very, cagey. They don't let you really know what to expect too far in advance, and then they just basically kind of announced this last week. And, all right, we got this whole presentation of lots of independently developed games for the Switch to go through. What was it, about at least like 15 in total, maybe 18?
Yeah. Honestly, I can't really complain about more announcements or content from Nintendo. They've been killing it with announcements recently. It's really good.
But we really haven't lied. We did say the last episode was the last before the Switch release, but you all who are listening to this are it's either the eve that it comes out, if I get this up in time, or you have long played it and you've been playing it for a couple of days and we're only a background thought as you've been indulging in some switching goodness.
I know, if you think about it, as of this moment, everyone who's listening to this is closer to the Switch than us, Casey.
I am jealous of the listeners more than usual who just get to listen to my voice. I am more jealous.
You're awful.
I am super jealous that you guys, yes, are further in the future than I am now, and you are either playing or almost about to play. But I'm going down to the event tomorrow night, and it should be pretty cool.
I mean, it's exciting, but honestly, I'm incredibly exhausted with all the hype that's been going on. It's just so much.
It's a drain because it's like you're just anxious. Your body, like your heart's always pumping a little bit faster when you think about it. You know, there's so much talking about it, so much to keep up with. Always an announcement. I feel like every 30 minutes something new to follow.
Yeah, and our community is really on top of it. We've all been very, very quick to share any details about the Switch.
Yes, I think it definitely will. And not just our own community. There's been a lot of people now. I think now that it's almost out, I've noticed that there's a few other groups been popping up. And I actually went down and visited another one of them last night. I was on the Nintendo Powercast, which is a couple of cool guys doing this. Actually, they're on Twitter and they're in our Discord chat. The main guy that I know from there, he goes by at N64Josh.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting podcast to hear, though. Though I gotta say, you did, start a little rough.
It's just that it was, so yeah, if anyone listens to it, and we'll put a link to the, it was more of a live Twitch stream that, I think he uploads it as a podcast to his webpage too, so you can find it there. But, we started it off, and that seems to be the night that my modem decided, yeah, I'm gonna die. I don't want to live to see the Nintendo Switch. I'm not ready to handle that. So I'm gonna die tonight. I'm gonna cut off your call a few times. I'll struggle.
It's the worst timing, and such a good first impression, Casey. Way to go.
He did tell me that it was his most listened to episode so far, so maybe the drama added something to the show, but it was a real fun time, and we talked about a few things that will relate to things we mentioned tonight.
Regardless of the technical issues that you had, it was still a very good listen, and I implore you guys to check it out.
Yeah, no, those guys are really fun.
They hang out in the Discord chat all the time, so
Yep.
Shout out to N64Josh, and it's fun times.
Yeah. And speaking of fun times, I've already been booking lots of fun times for the future because I've officially begun my, what I call, Switch Fest.
The Switch Fest.
Switch Fest. I told you guys all 100 times how I love to run groups. I have all sorts of board game, video game, Pokemon groups in the city. So obviously I had to make one for the Switch. So March Switch Fest is going to be the first of a monthly event I'm going to run in the city right at Rockefeller Center in the concourse, which is below it. You can visit our Facebook group or just go on Facebook, and we have an event set up, and you could just, tell us if you want to come there, and all the information's there. But it's going to be a monthly gathering of Switch owners and people who are just interested in either hanging out with or maybe trying out the Switch, and with a bunch of fun community members.
Yeah, honestly, that's so cool that we're going to organize a meetup like that so quickly.
Yeah.
There was we talked about having a bit of a fear of the hype dying down once the Switch is actually released. But local events like this Switch Fest is going to really build up the community even on a local level. I love it.
Maybe we can get a Switch Fest West going.
Switch Fest West?
Yes, just because I like that name.
Are we going to do a Switch Fest Prime, Switch Fest South?
Yeah.
We're going to do that thing?
No, yeah. Oh, no. We just need people from the community who are going to willing to run it, and run it under the SwitchCast banner and get people coming down and playing. And
honestly, I would absolutely love if we could organize SwitchFest meetups all across the nation and across the world. We have a bunch of international listeners too. That would be so exciting.
Because you know what? Look, one thing that's evident from what we're about to talk about tonight is that I feel even stronger than ever that the Switch is going to be the resurgence of not couch co-op, but just like next to each other wherever you are co-op, like just playing together games, not necessarily even versus games. And I think this is the perfect setting for that, to get together with some people. And, you don't have to always feel like you're competing against them or you're trying to beat down your opponent. There's a lot of games that feel like you're just playing with them and having a fun time. And this is the perfect environment for that. Right.
I agree with you. I think the Switch is really going to expand and grow the local gaming environment. Just recently, tabletop gaming has really blown up and gotten really popular nowadays. The Switch is bringing that type of community gathering and local get-together feel into the video game world.
And so that is next Thursday, March 3rd. And that's only 2 days before I have my panel at PAX East, the actual PAX East. I'm going there next weekend, so...
Oh my gosh, that is that's like a 1-2 punch right there. That's really busy. You're going to be busy for a while.
Yes, sir. So obviously this is going to be a lot of stuff going down, and I'm going to be doing more Switch stuff when I'm at PAX East. But I'll talk about that more next week. Oh, right. I did want to make a little announcement to our Patreon backers, actually.
That's right. So we're just getting to the point where we're going to be able to produce all of the rewards that you the patrons are deserving. If you guys don't know, we have different levels of patrons, and each of them will get different rewards based on that level. One of which is being a shirt, another being a specially branded USB. So March is when we're going to be pushing out and producing all that stuff to send out to you guys. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, so I'm sure you have a few design ideas or even just color schemes. And I'm sure anyone who's a patron will probably get a message allowing them to kind of give feedback on what designs or which options most best will work for this. So keep an eye out for that, because we have a little bit of designing to do, and then we're going to try to make those as soon as we can.
Right, exactly. But so far, we've been corralling a couple printing places for us to send these out. We want to make sure the quality is good for all of our patrons, so it'll be something to get excited about for sure.
Right. So no more time for dallying. Let's get right into our Nindies Roundup and just dive into all the games we saw today. All right, so moving in, here we are, the Nindies. Honestly, I know it's a good little portmanteau. I don't like the word Nindies, I gotta say.
Really? I love Nindies.
I just feel like I keep thinking of like a little pair of Nintendo-themed like tighty whities.
Oh, really? Those would be Nundies.
I know that it's one letter different. It's Nundies.
I'm pretty sure they're intentionally doing this. Casey.
What, they're intentionally doing it to make it sound like
Nindies?
underwear?
No, they're combining it on purpose to give Nintendo Indies a special brand.
Well, I know they're doing it on purpose, but I just feel like all I can think of is it sounds too much like undies to me.
You're just ruining this for so many of our listeners, Casey. You're just ruining it.
I'm a bad person. What can I say?
But I think it's fine. Nindies. Nintendo Switch Nindies Showcase. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And we can honestly just start right off the bat. They did not hesitate to show us trailers for some of these good games.
Yes. So right off the bat, the first one we got to see was SteamWorld Dig 2. Are you familiar at all with SteamWorld Dig 1?
I've seen the game and I know people love it, but I just haven't played it personally.
It looked like a modern day Dig Dug. I mean, that's
I'm pretty sure that's what it was kind of based on.
Yeah.
It looks gorgeous for what it is, and it's from a company that's not super small. So they've been around for a little bit.
Looking at the trailer for it right now, actually, I'm reminded how much this is actually supposed to come off as a Metroid-style adventure. There is that digging aspect to it, but there's a lot of like running, platforming, exploring, using that digging to like go through these ancient ruins. And I think you're going to go back and forth and you're going to collect stuff and, you know, really explore this lost underground civilization, it looks like.
Right. I could definitely agree with you there. We've been sorely lacking a good Metroidvania style game recently. And hopefully SteamWorld Dig 2 will fill that niche for us. And it makes a really good first impression, just considering how smooth the animations are and how the graphics look really, really vivid.
Yeah. All right, but I think the one game that people were really looking forward to, and they showed it really early, right after that, was the Yooka-Laylee trailer.
Yooka-Laylee. We all knew that this was going to come out on the Nintendo Switch. Once the Yooka-Laylee Wii U project was canceled, they promised that they were still going to be on a Nintendo console, and the only other console they could possibly do it is the Switch. Now it's confirmed, and we can all get excited for essentially the spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, I really like the character designs of these two little guys. Like, I like the lizard bat combo. It's pretty, they're not like cuddly creatures, which actually is a little bit of a trouble. Like Banjo and Kazooie are cute, cuddly characters, which is yeah. I mean, but these guys are still cute, but they're not like fuzzy, fluffy things.
Yeah, that's true. They're not teddy bears or birds that you can just hug and cuddle with.
It reminds me of a kind of if Spyro the Dragon was split into two characters.
That's actually a pretty good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. But
it just hit me because like you got one little like flappy purple guy and you got a reptilian dude who's
and I think the gameplay itself looks smooth and crisp and harkens back to those N64 3D platformer games. So I'm excited to see what this team does with Yooka-Laylee.
They also showed off, they called it Ace multiplayer. Now, I saw that there was a lot of like 4-player action mini games with there was like a little race kind of game where you're jumping over hurdles. But I've never heard that term before, like Ace multiplayer.
It might just be referring to their multiplayer minigame collection, but
yeah, that's pretty cool though. 4-player. I would only hope that it is a game that allows it, one cartridge, 4 players.
It's also possible that it's the same screen multiplayer, just like in those old Mario Party games.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah,
but some of these are pretty simple, like it's just jumping or something like that.
Exactly. It also harkens back to those Pokemon Stadium mini games that weren't really the primary gameplay, but was an added fun extra.
Okay, so the next game up, Overcooked.
Honestly, it looks like a fun little multiplayer game. it kind of bringing back Pokemon Stadium again. It kind of reminds me of the
Lickitung game?
Lickitung sushi game.
That's what I was thinking. That was exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, it looks like a fun little mini game, multiplayer mini game. You know, it'll be a fun diversion.
Well, it looks like, and anyone want to give us some more information on this? So is it competitive, or I wonder if this is a cooperative, or is it both ways actually kind of game? Because I can see it working as both. It kind of reminds me of that board game where you're all running the Chinese restaurant and everyone has to kind of...
Is it Hanabi?
No. It's Walkstar.
Sushigo?
Walkstar. Walkstar, where all the players are different stations of this restaurant and you kind of have to work together. I could see this kind of having that kind of feel where everyone is working, you know, like, all right, I'm making sure to get the puree up, you put it in the pot, whatever, and I'm chopping this. I love, though, the description they have of the HD Rumble. They talk about how you're going to be able to feel as you chop up those tomatoes. You're going to feel the soup sloshing around inside of your pot as you like carry it away.
That's kind of interesting. I want to see how that's implemented for sure.
Yeah.
I want to feel that soup.
I wonder if it's gonna I feel like that will throw me off at first. I'll be like, I'm the kind of person
what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna like drop my controller because it's like.
But it's interesting that even independent developers are trying to take advantage of the HD Rumble feature. I think that's very ambitious, and I want to see how that goes.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to be the underrated feature, the one that everyone kind of thought was silly and just kind of like, it's cute, whatever, it's just a thing. But in reality, it ends up being a really...
transcendent experience.
Yeah, it's something that really adds to those games. And so, we'll see. Yeah, it's a good sign. The Escapists 2. This looks like, I think this might be related to, because have you ever played a game, what was it, Prison Architect?
Prison Architect, okay.
Yeah, no, this is actually a really cool game that I had seen. I got to play this a little bit with some of my coworkers who had it on their computers there, where you built a prison and you had to it wasn't just about, building cells and giving them food and stuff. You had to set up patrols for the guards and all kind of stuff, because anyone you couldn't see, if they weren't under the vision of a guard, you couldn't see what they're doing. And if they found blind spots, they would try to find escape routes, or they would cause trouble. Someone would, if you didn't have enough guards in a certain hallway, someone might get shivved there. All right.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And
but it had this cutesy art style, and this looks very similar to it. This the Escapist 2.
It does look interesting. In that sense, you would be the prisoner trying to escape. So
correct.
It would be a flip. It would be the flip of a Prison Architect.
Yes, and they make it sound very casual. This isn't a game that you go in, there's just a story or something. They talk about drop in, drop out multiplayer, so I guess people can just show up in each other's games, kind of like a Dark Souls
try to escape
style.
together, maybe.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. That
really does sound fun. But I do want to see more of how this actually plays out and what your options of escape are and what opportunities they dig up.
I'm a big fan of all of these independent games that have multiplayer elements to them. And Escapist is probably one of the games that we can try to have fun with together.
Yeah, again, it's another game promoting that kind of feel. But I do want confirmation if this has any relation to that Prison Architect game.
I don't think so, Casey.
Gonner. This is a frightening looking game, I'll say. It's a
Gonner.
Yeah, it's got this cool but really surreal, creepy vibe to it where you're a dude, I guess, or a thing that's dating a giant whale.
Yeah, I don't know if it's dating, but it's very interesting. It's a 2D platformer, and apparently has a lot of procedurally generated elements to it. Mm-hmm. I find it pretty interesting because of the art style is kind of it's hard to describe. It is. It's very. It looks like I want to say it looks like a disturbed 16-year-old's notebook. That's not a bad way to put it.
But really cool use of colors. It's very the things that like it's a lot of black backgrounds, but the things
Right.
on the screen pop like neon.
It reminds me of a mix between Nobi Nobi Boy and Limbo.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
Those
yeah.
pastel colors of Nobi Nobi Boy and then the black background contrasting assets of Limbo.
Yeah. And, something about death being your mentor, so, I don't know.
Very interesting.
Dandara,
Dandara.
Now, this looks like a really cool action platform. It's much more actiony, like, you have, like, actual attacks as opposed to the other games that were more of a, exploration focused type thing. A lot more enemies flying around in this one. Pretty cool. I guess 16-bit art style to it.
Yeah, it's 16-bit. It's a Metroidvania style game as well.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, doing a bit of research, they're trying to kind of mix a touch control scheme with gamepad control schemes. So it's definitely a really fast-paced game, it seems.
Yeah. Very fast-paced. A lot of jumping around and animes. Like, it feels anime-ish in its action, you know?
Yeah, and I can't complain about that type of gameplay. Also, the character design of Dandara is kind of cool. It looks like
Afro Samurai Girl. Yeah. That's coming out this summer. Then we had, so this is a game I've actually had a little familiarity with, Kingdom Two Crowns.
interesting. Okay.
All right, so this is a game, it's, I guess you would kind of call it like a strategy roguelike where you have a town and during the day, you go and you collect some resources, you tell your people what to build with the money or resources you got. Do you want to send them out to get more? Do you want them to fortify? That kind of thing. And then every night, you're attacked by the forces of darkness and undead and stuff like that, and you have to fend them off all night.
Yeah.
And then if you survive the night, the next morning you have to decide, all right, do we bother rebuilding that barn they burned down, or do we just move ahead and build a bigger fort? Do I go out and send people to the well? And this now adds a co-op mode, so two people can go out and frantically build up the town together and then fight the forces of darkness at night. It's a really cool. It was a really cool concept, and it just goes until every night the forces get harder and harder to fight until they inevitably, squash you.
Yeah, this definitely sounds like one of those survival games that get really, really popular. I'm reminded of Don't Starve, those types of survival games where you have to build up something that's not permanent and is at constant threat in waves. It seems like it could be fun and it could appeal to that kind of crowd.
No, it definitely was addictive for me. Like, I just really enjoyed the building, but then, knowing that, oh man, how long can I go? And there's a lot of stuff to discover, a lot of not just tactics, but ways to get resources or things to unlock that I would find as I played it more and more, and I got better at it, and then new things became available to me, and I was like really excited to reach further into the game because now new, tactics and new ways to get even further became evident.
Yeah, and I bet the co-op aspect will really add to this type of experience. It seems like it'd be fun to play a survival game like this in a multiplayer situation.
I think I could get very tense. I could hear a lot of shouting, like, "Oh no, are you covering? Is anyone running the catapults? Like,
don't do that. Go there.
Yeah. No, why'd you build them? Dang, whoa.
Why'd they burn the barn? Why'd you let them do that?
Exactly.
I think it could be fun.
Yeah.
But actually, the next one that we're going to talk about is pretty interesting too. It's apparently called Runner 3.
Yes.
So what I find most interesting about this particular game is how the series it's based on has evolved.
Yeah, this was the Bit Trip Runner series, right?
This was originally the Bit Trip series where they are well known for being just purely minimalistic and pixelated. And then having fantastical graphics based on just small pixels and bits. Now they've just gone full-fledged 3D.
Yeah. Very smooth, very, rounded, like that, almost that claymation-looking kind of world.
Yeah, it's pastel colors. It's all smooth now.
But still looks like in the core, it's the same gameplay of you're running and then you just either you jump or you slide or you do like a sprint here and there. There seems to be some other things like it looks like you jump into like a plane at one point and but yeah, getting used to the rhythm of the music and just getting into that groove of when to jump and slide is very addictive, fun, and it's not an endless runner. If you look at this, don't think it's one of those. There are stages. It's just a matter of learning them one by one and getting through.
It's so interesting how that team and that company has evolved.
Yeah, really.
Little bits graphics to a full-fledged 3D experience. So I don't blame them. I mean, they've done plenty in that realm, so it's a good time, and it just feels so weird to see this 8-bit, like not even like a 4-bit Atari looking dude who's now become a fully fleshed out 3D model. It's the evolution of their games reflect the evolution of their company.
Yes. So this is the game that I'm going to talk about was Serendipitous that we talked about, that we're going to talk about today, because last night when I was on the Nintendo Power Cast, we were talking about games that we regret or we just never beat that we always wanted to. And several of us talked about Blaster Master.
Oh, really?
Yes. Because you know what? There's often just a wall you hit, like, I need at least 5 tries to beat this boss, but the game only gives you like 3 continues, and then you have to play it from the beginning again, and you just get, Anyway, I never beaten it, but this might be my chance to get revenge at this game in a more fair and fun way.
Blaster Master Zero. It's interesting how they're bringing that back. Considering it came out in the late 80s here in America.
Excellent title, though. Excellent choice. This was such a great game even then, and despite my frustration with not being able to beat it, it was such, like, first off, it's a game about driving around in a jumping cyber tank with like this cruel rotating cannon, but you can get out of it and you would go into like top down view action sequences where you're just like a dude in like a spacesuit shooting mutants and stuff. And you go back to your car and you got upgrades. Eventually it could hover. It can go submarine mode. It shot homing missiles. It was such a cool car.
Yeah. So Blaster Master was, before my time, but I always found it really interesting that the vehicle mode is side-scrolling, while walking on your feet is top-down.
Well, it does both, because you can get out of your car in the side-scrolling mode, but you're like super vulnerable because all the monsters there. But there were parts where you would still have to get out of there in 2D mode. But yeah, the top-down is purely foot mode. That's where the car can't go, and you have to go and get whatever power-up or fight whatever boss.
Yeah, and honestly, when they were playing the trailer, I couldn't help but notice how really well done the music was. I very much enjoyed the chip tunes that they were playing when it harkened back to that era.
It's not just harkened back to that era, it's very reminiscent of the original soundtrack, I'll say. It definitely has a few cues that are totally resonating in my brain, saying, yes, this sounds like this could have been released a week after the original game, and I would believe it was like the same composer and everything.
Very cool.
A few things I noticed that were really cool improvements, though. Obviously some great details were added to the graphics and stuff. Because the original graphics were, pretty simple, but brilliant.
But it was an 80s game.
Yeah.
Understandable.
I noticed a lot of the bosses definitely were modernized versions of bosses from the old game, but there were some new spins on a few of them. But this is the first time, because none of the bosses in the first game did you fight in the tank. You always fought the bosses in the foot mode when you were walking around. I saw a boss in this trailer that you're actually shooting with the tank. I'm like, why was that not in that game? That's makes sense. I have an awesome flying submarine tank jeep. Why can't I use that to fight a mutant monster?
And apparently now your dream can come true.
And they just the end of it, they show you it doing some sort of turret mode where it shoots a giant laser that takes up half the screen. Just then you see like a few frames of that before the clip cuts out.
Yeah, you can, and they even hinted at a few cameos.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what that's going to be about.
Interesting. And that's coming March 9th on the Switch and 3DS.
Yeah,
which
so
I'm very close
relatively close.
Oh,
Honestly,
yeah.
obviously I'm going to get it for the Switch, but...
It's coming out. Oh, I can get that in time for the first Switch Fest.
Exactly. There you go. Nice way to show it off.
Yes, indeed. Okay, the next game's also... and the next game's also pretty interesting, too. Flipping Death.
Yeah, so it's an interesting art style. It reminds me of those Tim Burton.
I was going to say Nightmare
Street
Before
style.
Christmas.
Nightmare Before on Elm Street. Nightmare Before Christmas, you're right.
Yes, Nightmare Before Christmas and Beetlejuice it gave me a vibe of, too. Like both of those kind of worlds. Yeah, definitely agree with that.
So this game is from Zoink Games. The biggest game they had previously was Stick It to the Man. I've honestly never really played these games, and the art style doesn't quite appeal to me all that much.
Okay.
But do you know anything about these types of games?
Well, this game the gameplay of this reminds me of a combination of, it's a little bit actiony platformer, but a little bit of Ghost Trick. Because you run around in the ghost world and you have to find your way to the screen literally will 180 flip between the world of the living, and then it'll flip and you're in the world of the dead, and then the dead people give you quests that can only be accomplished by someone who can jump over to the living world. So let's say the headless guy who wants some super glue to put his head back on, and then you run around and you have to find a way to get to some dude who's on a sidewalk in the real world, but you have to find a way to get to his silhouette in the dead world. Then you possess him, or you possess something about him, and then you take control of that person and you make him do something that can help you accomplish your goal. And I'm sure it'll go back and forth. Like he'll do something there that affects the ghost world, and that opens up a new person for you to possess.
See, now that is an interesting gameplay description. Mm-hmm. This definitely doesn't seem like something that I would personally play.
Yeah.
Just based on how it looks. But the gameplay itself sounds pretty good.
It looks very comical. I think I'll enjoy the humor of it. Like they make a lot of, just everything about it's very whimsical and jokey. Like Death, who gives you your job doing this kind of stuff, is just kind of like, you want a job with me? Can you help some people? I don't know. It's just, it's pretty funny seeing when you possess the people, they look really hilarious when they're like, well, I'm not doing this. Why are you doing this to me?
I'm hoping I can get past the art style because it's just not speaking to me at all.
I can hear that.
Yeah, but maybe you can review it for us, Casey.
I'll be happy to if they send us a review copy. But that's coming this year. We still don't have a release date for that, so let's see. Graceful Explosion Machine.
Graceful Explosion Machine. Now, the biggest description point for this game is that they're going to be taking really big advantage of the HD Rumble features.
Yes, once again, like you're supposed to feel the explosions.
And I imagine a game like this can really benefit from that HD Rumble feature. It'd be really fun to feel the explosions on the direction or area that you're shooting stuff at. Oh,
that's interesting too. Like now you're making me think the way you say like feel the direction of it. I wonder if in an FPS you'll be able to use that to just know where you're getting hit from. And
right. If you're holding the Joy-Con in grip mode, maybe if you're getting shot on the right side, you'd feel a rumble specifically on the right.
Yeah.
That might be able to help you out determine where your enemies are, and you can react accordingly.
But yeah, this is basically a asteroid style shoot 'em up game, 360 degree.
It reminds me of a more polygonal Geometry Wars.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's very pretty, and there's a lot of vibrant colors, and you're shooting little bits of things with your lasers, and it's gorgeous. Yeah, it looks graceful, and there's a lot of explosions with this mission.
Mr. Shifty. Okay, now this was.
I like this. Yeah. I'm actually really excited for this game.
Well, tell us what's the premise here.
Well, I don't really know the premise that much, but it looks cool.
It's basically, I would describe it as Hotline Miami with teleportation powers.
Yes. Yes, I think I saw it described as, if Nightcrawler had babies with Hotline Miami, it would be Mr. Shifty.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's a top-down action game, and it looks a little bit more of a story-structured game than Hotline Miami was. But yeah, you're a dude, and you go into basically these facilities full of traps and people who want to kill you, and you're going to use weapons. You're going to shoot people. There's a lot of killing in this game. In fact, I remember there's at least one scene in this trailer where you just see a room covered in dead bodies, just corpses everywhere. Yeah. But it's not like grotesque. Like
it's not graphic.
Yeah, it's not graphic. Like they're on the floor, just splayed out. Like Hotline Miami was a very, like, even though it was a 16-bit type game, you got the feeling that something horrible and a massacre happened in any given room. Like there were just blood splotches everywhere and stuff.
Yeah.
This still looks very comic booky, and you use your teleport that you could jump like a few feet at a time, and you have to use that a lot, it looks like, to get by these traps, to jump through walls, and it looks more adventure-y and maybe a little jewel thiefy, I'll say.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely gonna have a really fast-paced gameplay to it. It looks like you have to be moving a lot, and that teleportation power looks fun.
Yeah, I could also see ways they can trick you with it. Like, I totally can tell that they're going to make you think about teleporting somewhere.
And it's a trap.
Yeah, and then, you just teleported into the middle of, 50 guns aimed at your head. Yeah.
I can see that happening, and when that moment happens, it's gonna be an those jerks designers.
Yeah. That's coming April, so not too long of a wait. And I feel like this is gonna be a pretty popular game. I'm gonna say that.
The next game we're gonna be talking about is called TumbleSeed. The gameplay itself looks pretty interesting to me. It looks like it's a top-down moving game, but you're controlling a character by tilting them left and right.
Well, it's not top-down. It's actually a side thing, but you're going up. And
that's fair.
Yeah, and things are coming out of the background to assail you, and there's traps in the background, and you're basically. So it's like the seed is immobile, but it's like a little warrior seed, and it can like take things out that it hits.
Warrior seed.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looks like to me. But it can't move on its own. It just bounces on this platform that you tilt, and that you just kind of tilt it to like make sure it bounces in the direction that you want it to go. It's kind of like playing Arkanoid, but the ball is a aggressive piece of plant.
Yeah, it's interesting because these developers were the same people who did Threes. If you haven't played that game, they did Threes and Ridiculous Fishing on the mobile platform, and now they're doing something that's a little bit more with more gameplay to it.
This is a pretty original style of game. I can't compare it to too many things. It's a procedural world, so it sounds like the kind of thing where every time you play it, there will be something different or a different combination of challenges for you to overcome.
Right. But this is a unique gameplay that we haven't really seen before, so...
And they call it a dual stick adventure, so I wonder... I'm trying to conceive what the controls are. Maybe like one controller manipulates the board, and maybe the other one...
I feel like one stick is going to manipulate the up and down of one side, while the other controller is the up and down of the other.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
It's also possible that they take advantage of the gyroscope features of the Joy-Con. So who knows? Who knows?
Moving on to Shakedown Hawaii.
This one looks fun. It reminds me of one of those original Grand Theft Autos, actually.
It's the spiritual successor to Retro City Rampage.
Retro City Rampage, okay.
Which was based on the original Grand Theft Autos.
Okay,
so it does have lineage.
Another layer.
Yeah.
It's another level.
But this looks very intense. I was watching this trailer, and it started out, I was just like, okay, you're running around, and there's some dudes in your way, and you're getting past obstacles and shooting guys in a top-down shooter. But then things sped up, and there was a lot of jumping, and just a lot of enemies showing up, and very slowly, it kept amping up the action. Yeah. And then he uses a flamethrower, and half the screen gets caught on fire. You burn down a whole stupid forest in just one turn of your flamethrower. And then it goes into a drive-by van just shooting up a whole city. And it slowly becomes like, it looked cute at first, but this is a pretty violent looking game, even though it has 16-bit graphics.
Oh yeah. It's 16 bits, but it's brutal as heck. It is. It gets really, really violent. There's no explicit blood splatters or grotesque imagery, but you're killing a lot of people.
Honestly, one scene in there got me, and kind of like this. I can see the souls behind the pixels, I feel like.
Oh my god.
No, I'm saying it's one scene where he's on the beach and he's just shooting up people, and there's one little NPC who's running from you desperately, goes out into the ocean, is just tries to swim away. Tries to swim for his life, and he just shoots them there in the ocean. I felt I don't know, that disturbed me in a weird way. That I was I don't think I could play it. This is a little too brutal for my comfort zone, personally.
I think I would enjoy this.
Oh, I'm sure. Look, I'm just weird. I know, but I can't play that bad a person. I can't.
I wonder what it says about me that I can.
Most people are fine with that. It's not bad to enjoy pretending to be a monster when in real life you're such a kitten.
It's okay if you want to introduce your kids to GTA, Grand Theft Auto. This is the first step to that, maybe.
Honestly, seeing that pixel dude die like that is more disturbing than seeing a GTA 3D model character run. There's something that just feels more real to me about some pixels. I think it's because my imagination fills in more about them, and that makes them, I don't know. Yeah. I don't think I can play this game. Not to say it looks like anything's bad about it. It's just, I can't play this.
Yeah, you definitely have a very, very special connection to pixelated characters, Casey.
I think I just can't be that evil. All right, that's coming April.
All right, next game we're going to be talking about is one that I think looks really fun. Pocket Rumble.
I am familiar with this game, actually.
Oh, are you?
Yes. Okay. It was a Steam, Kickstarter, and they had some other things. I think it came to a few other things too, but then eventually they added the Switch. But one of the reasons this was brought to my attention is because one of the unlockable characters in that Kickstarter was a Serlin character.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is going to come to the Switch version or not, but Max Geiger is actually one of the characters that was in
Pocket Rumble.
In Pocket Rumble, and everyone knows what I'm talking about. Serlin makes card games, and he's most famous for a game called Yomi, which simulates a Street Fighter style battle in card game form, and it just breaks down the strategy of a fighting game without the twitch reflexes.
Now, what I like about this particular game is that it's a 2-button control scheme.
Very simple.
It's very simple, but I can see just how technical it can get with its simplicity.
Well, that's what they're going for. The whole point of the game was it's supposed to be a fighter minus learning how to do Hadouken, learning how to do all the moves. Every special move is just either down and attack A or up and attack B. There's nothing complicated about the moves.
It's all about zoning and spacing and hitting and timing.
Right. You can focus fully on just using the strategy of the characters and the fights and not have to spend an hour just to learn how to do the basic attacks.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is probably something that I'm going to want to play with the Discord chat people. So.
Oh, no, absolutely. This is a fighting game I can get into. This is why I can't get into, even though I tried very hard to play, and I enjoyed it for a while. I was playing Blaze Blue for a while, but I spent far more time just learning the combos for my character. All right. This is how I do it. And I have to do it till it's just muscle memory. And I know how to do this combo as soon as I connect with the first attack. And I do that over and over again. This cuts that. Just go into it. and just master the strategy of your character and play those mind games.
Right, and not to say that the having to memorize combos is bad, but this appeals to the people who don't necessarily want to go that route with their fighting games.
I think it is bad, but we could have a whole. I think memorizing combos is not a productive thing for this genre, but some people
Casey
enjoy it.
said it, not me.
Well, I'm not afraid to have opinions.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because this is coming March, so this should actually be out soon, and this is very high on my priority buy list, actually, too. So I might enjoy having some games with the Discord people, too.
Yes.
Again, some people don't like this. Some people are kind of sick of all the 8-bit stuff, but I eat it up.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, 16-bit. I definitely don't want to say it's 8-bit. But the character designs, I love the character designs in this. There's so many cool characters. You really should check out, if anyone thinks this is halfway interesting, look for the Kickstarter for Pocket Rumble and look at the character list. They all fit different tropes, but they all have very cool anime-inspired type of theming to them. And their own special powers are pretty cool. Oh, actually, what's interesting, a really cool mode they had for the other versions, which I assume will come over to this, is that there was like a mode where you can see the hitboxes of everything. That you could actually, just so you can learn, like, oh, when I do this attack, that's how far it goes? I didn't realize it could hit someone at this range, or here's my weak point when I do this attack. Here's why I'm invincible for this frame. All those sort of things. To teach you, how to master your character on that one extra level, just to see all the hitboxes.
That is very interesting. That's unique and not something that a lot of fighting games implement nowadays.
Yes. Oh, and again, HD Rumble, they mentioned you'll feel light hit feels different from a strong hit. Online matches, I mean, obviously you have to have that, but it's good. I mean, I'm going to enjoy that.
Yes. Exactly. Now let's move on to the next game, Casey, because I think we're both really excited for this.
This is the one that, yes, we're going to probably spend a lot of time on, but yes, WarGroove.
WarGroove. This, when I first saw it, I was mildly intrigued with the fact that it was a turn-based strategy game.
Mm-hmm.
But once they started showing how the gameplay works and how everything is positioned and the mechanics of the game, I started realizing this is Advance Wars.
This is
the second coming of Advance Wars.
This is medieval in the Advance Wars.
Yes.
It really is.
And, a lot of people say that Fire Emblem is the medieval Advance Wars, but this practically pulls the mechanics from the Advance Wars series and brings it into medieval settings.
Yeah, because there were some very core differences. Yes, Advance Wars and Fire Emblem are similar in a lot of ways, and they were made by the same company, so it makes sense. But there was just, some of the very basic differences in the games are what set this type of strategy apart, as opposed to having all named characters like Fire Emblem and losing one unit being a travesty sometimes. Right. Advance Wars, you generated them. Like, you can have characters who are just about, this guy's point is just to die and slow things down for a little bit.
Right. And you don't have individual characters so much in Advance Wars that you, like in Fire Emblem. And
you have commanding officers.
Yeah, you have commanding officers, and you essentially start on the same playing field. You don't have any units from the beginning, and you build up from there.
Right. You might have a few, in some stages they'll start you out with some, because I feel like Advance Wars, and I don't know if this game's like this, but at some of the stages in Advance Wars were almost like strategy puzzles. Yeah.
Right. But in multiplayer modes, if you're facing off against someone else, you always start off completely blank, and then you decide your strategy based on your decisions.
Yeah, and what your resources were at the time. You would capture bases to create more income, so eventually you could afford the better units, and
there's a dragon in this one, though.
Oh, yes, but I like how they switch it up. So that's how they make air units in this. Like, they have the witches on brooms for certain air units. The dragons look like a type that I feel like that's the bomber of this game.
Yeah, exactly.
They had sea units. That makes sense. Boats, but
yeah, and obviously long-range units are spellcasters or archers. It's going to be interesting how the parallels work in this game.
Yeah, wagons for the APCs. The difference of the unit of the armies. So like we noticed, like in the previous ones, there was always in Advance Wars, there was always some aesthetic differences between like the different colored armies. Like the Black Hole army would have like those weird future cyber looking tanks, and whereas the Yellow Star army might have more like, I don't know, like Asian looking kind of units.
Right, Asia inspired units, while Blue Moon was a bit more Russian, that type of style.
Yeah, and I like in here, we have like basically all I saw was like there was knights and there was the undead army. Like that's what it looked like, the main difference here. But that was pretty cool difference.
We don't know if there's going to be more armies than that, and I did notice that there isn't a CO bar. So I'm not sure if that's going to translate over to this game.
Did see, I mean, there might not be a CO bar, but I did see a CO select screen.
Right. And it did show that they were campaigns, that each individual character that you can be has its own campaign. So that would have its own story then.
And for people unfamiliar, the commanding officer's role was basically, they had two main things. They usually had a static ability, like a certain character, just all his ranged units were just powered up for this battle, or someone who just had more expensive units, but all his units are just better stats in general. And then every so often they could unleash a superpower where like one guy just creates a snowstorm that stops all units, and they can't move more than one space except for yours. Yours can ignore the snow. You know, like those kind of things.
Yeah, and that's what made Advance Wars so unique and so fun. Playing as the different commanding officers changed up the gameplay so much, even if you both are essentially calling the same units.
Yes, right.
And it always felt incredibly visceral when you activated a CO power and you turned the tide of the game for your side. Yeah,
I mean, also, you know, you don't have to worry about things like, you don't have to worry about how your units level up. Right, exactly. Like a lot of Fire Emblem is making sure you level up your units right. So you have to bring in my level 5 so he can go and finish off this unit so he can get the XP for it. And that, you know, that's definitely part of that game. And then sometimes you're like, he didn't even get a good stat boost. You just rolled the dice and their stats, sometimes they roll great, sometimes they don't roll so great. But that's just something you don't have to worry about. Units are always even. So multiplayer makes a lot more sense in this game. I was always not so interested in Fire Emblem multiplayer because of like the levels and problems.
Yeah,
like that.
Exactly.
But this makes perfect sense. It's an even playing field, and you can even make your own maps.
Yeah, which is going to be fun, and we're going to be sharing that around our community a lot.
Yes. That's the thing. Online multiplayer. That's something no Advance Wars ever was able to have.
The DS had online multiplayer, the newest one, but it wasn't particularly reliable. So a lot of people ignored it.
Okay. But this is coming this year. We don't know when, but this is probably the maximum hype of any of the games for both JV and I. And it's rare when we both are super into the same game.
Exactly, and this is one of them. Especially the fact that an indie game can get us so excited like this speaks volumes of how far independent developers have come.
Booyah.
In this industry.
Yeah. And all right, let's close out. The last game they talked about is another title that a lot of people are hyped about. We've mentioned before. So Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley, that's right.
We just got to see a little bit more. They didn't spend too much time, but they did drop the fact that it's going to have multiplayer, which is only available on PC versions of the game. And that was a big deal about that. But this is the first time it's on a console.
Oh, yeah. And it's going to be... This game really captured the hearts of a lot of people. And even within our own community, a lot of people are excited to play this. So having a multiplayer Stardew Valley is going to be a lot of fun.
No, that's honestly, I don't think I would be that interested in playing this solo. I don't get that. I want to play this and feel like other people are contributing.
Playing
to the
with
same...
us.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that really put this from a interested, but probably won't buy it, to now I'm really interested if I can find people who we'll share my town with. Yes.
I know we have a couple people in our community that's going to get this. So if you guys are interested in playing Stardew Valley, maybe we can get a group going to play together.
Yeah. All right. That is all the games we have, but we still wanted to hear what you guys were looking forward to on most out of this presentation. So we're going to go on to the Community Pulse and read your replies.
Let's do it.
All right, JB, why don't you kick us off with the first one of the Community Pulse?
All right, so let's start with Jeffrey Kappenberg. He is excited for WarGroove because Advanced Wars and Fire Emblem. Duh. Yeah, I mean,
makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's the both of those games are stuff that we love, and combining them is just a dream game for us.
Jose Vega said this is too hard to decide. He can't even pick. My question just, stumped him flat out.
Yeah. That's fair. There's so many really good choices here.
There was really, honestly, I'm not going to lie and say that there was nothing I was like, I'll pass on. But it was a very high ratio of games that I'm interested to play, and they're coming out in a very good spread. There's one game, like I said, Pocket Battles, that's coming out this month. April, I'm looking forward to the next thing down the line.
Right, Blaster Master Zero is coming right out the gate on the 9th.
Yeah, if I didn't have Zelda, I might get that as a game I could play a little more casually. Maybe a game I don't have to be as, devoted to as Zelda. Because I do need one that's a little fast action, or maybe I need to think. Yeah. I don't know. There's too many to think from. Read the next one.
It's kind of relevant because Bojan Lone Wolf Nikolovsky said all of them.
Yeah, honestly, it's really hard to pick.
It's hard. There's a couple that I'm definitely willing to skip, but it's a good ratio, just like what you said.
I am gonna have to sell some blood to get more of these games.
Yeah, and more time too.
Macy Smith Pruitt wrote, "I am so stoked for Yooka-Laylee, Blaster Master Zero, and Stardew Valley. Runner 3 looks pretty awesome too. So many great games coming."
So we do have a diverging opinion here from Frank Bello. Couldn't say I have interest in anything on the list. Anything I'd consider, I own already and don't feel worth getting again. Maybe Stardew. I have it on PC, but I want a portable version, and they never did a Vita release. It was only on PS4, and I don't want a remote play for it.
Yeah, no, that's a fair one. I mean, look, especially when they all take unusual tacks or they have different art styles like that. Things like that are perfectly reasonable to turn you off, and indies tend to go for those unusual approaches, and that some people just aren't feeling that, and that you're perfectly all right. But
yeah, also he brings up a really good point that some of these games have already been out on the PC. So if you already own it, it might not behoove you to purchase it on the Switch again.
Right. Unless, like you said, you just want a portable version of it. If you've just,
Right.
Yeah. Joe Bailey wrote, "I'm really looking forward to Overcooked. I liked playing it on the PS4, but it has potential to use the Switch hardware very well. The multiplayer focus of the game will make it great for sharing the joy. And if the HD rumble makes me feel like I'm really cutting a tomato, then I'm going to be very happy."
Oh man, that's the killer app for the Joy-Cons. You really want to feel like you're cutting that tomato.
Getting
3D
the multiplayer.
rumble.
Yeah. And the fact that if what he says is true, that you only need the half controller to play it, which I can totally see being the case. Yeah, just having that multiplayer, 2-player action anytime should be really fun.
I really want to feel like, it's the squishiness of the tomato is reflected on the HD rumble. Maybe the texture.
Am I going to get hungry playing this game?
Yes.
Is this game going to make me fat?
Don't sell yourself short. Anyway, next one. Rick Caceres, our Switch Knight.
Yes.
Thank you. Blaster Master because Blaster Master. Blaster Master and Blaster Master. Oh, Blaster Master also look good. I wonder what game he likes.
I think he forgot Blaster Master, though. Like, that seems like a game that'd be up his alley.
But yeah, it seems like it's a mistake to not reflect that, Rick. Maybe you should definitely check Blaster Master out.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, another one from No Da Kid?
No Da Kid.
Yes. WarGroove, because Advance Wars.
Yep.
Exactly. It's appropriate because his Twitter avatar is also the original Advance Wars logo.
Yeah, Andy!
Yeah. Dude, I loved Andy.
Andy, yeah, he was a good protagonist.
I liked him. I liked his CO ability.
Yeah, just the heal your units thing.
Yeah.
You know, the first Advance was so pure. I feel like it was really strong just because it was before they added. I mean, not that I'm complaining about it, but later on, you have to add new and more complex abilities. I just like that. Here's a CO whose non-ranged units are powered up. Here's a CO whose ranged units are powered up. This guy repairs things. This person has good soldiers. Like, they were so straightforward. Later on, they were like, all right, this guy's transport units can go a little further, and they can drop off units really fast, and I don't know, they just got a little more complex over the time. Yeah, that's fine, but I like the purity of the original.
The original one was a classic and had that simplistic feel to it.
And then the tag team, where you had to figure out, here's a good combination where if I use this power first, and then he tags in this character's power.
Yeah, that got ridiculous very fast.
I mean, look, you could find really great broken strategies, and I loved it, but yeah. Anyway, at No Filter ENT wrote SteamWorld Dig 2, because I had so much fun with the first title. Shout out to the Switch. The perfect system for indies, in my opinion. And then they follow up. Excuse me, Nindies.
Yeah, I was going to say indies. What is that word? It's an indies. It's Nindies over here.
Underwear.
But I definitely agree with that the Nintendo Switch is the perfect system for independent games. This is essentially a way for those indie developers to bring their game to a portable console without having to develop something new or having to really port it to a different platform.
Because a lot of times they also have to make that choice. Do we want to make a game that is good to play on the go, that's for a portable, or do we want to make a game that will be big and beautiful on a home console? And now they can, do both. They can make a game that serves somewhere in between those two things, and or really focus on one or the other. So it's going to attract everyone with a great idea.
All right. So Notch212 said, "I'm happy for the return of David Weiss in Snake Pass and Yooka-Laylee. Also, Mr. Shifty equals HLM on steroids, which is Hotline Miami."
At Jay Wiskowski wrote, Blaster Master 0. Maybe I will finally beat this one. You and me both, brother. So I say.
Yeah. Apparently the original was kind of hard to beat. I can't really tell. Okay, so the next one is from Clark. Yooka-Laylee, Rhyme, Snake Pass. I know they weren't in the show, but I like the graphics in them. Not an 8 or 16-bit fan.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people don't dig it, but some people, like me, it just clicks. It's a little bit more approachable for me when they're in that mode. I don't know why. I just think that those characters really do, for some reason, feel more like they have more personality than like a real 3D model.
That's just UKC.
I don't think it's just me.
Well, no, I mean that you're in. There's a very particular group of people that love that pixel graphic art style, and you're one of them.
Yep. No, but I can totally see why there's a lot of people who are just like sick of it, and they don't, that it's a big turnoff for them.
Yes, and honestly, independent developers gravitate towards that art style because it's easier to develop for.
Yeah, no, that's true, and it lets them play around and push other things a little further. Like when you have a 8-bit pixel main character, you could have him flying across the screen doing things that a 3D model probably wouldn't be doing so smoothly. At non-SCPO writes, Here's a question for the cast. What indie title did you feel was missing in the lineup? And which one were you surprised by? First off, so yeah, was there any indie title that maybe you felt could have been or should have been in that lineup, but was absent?
So there's this one co-op heist game that I really liked called Monaco. Have you heard of Monaco before?
No, not familiar.
Yes, it's a top-down heist game. It's pixelated, but every character had its own role, and you would run in and you would have to steal something from a location. And I loved that game as a multiplayer game because each character had different abilities and it had that asymmetric feel to it. And I really wished that that's going to be that was on the Switch.
I gotcha. Okay. I was going to say that I liked on the Vita Axiom Verge, which it's a much closer to Metroid style Metroidvania game. It's in this weird subterranean cyber planet, and there's that very good sense of loneliness and darkness, and I feel like it is the best option to fill that hunger for a true Metroid that is lacking on the system right now. So that's why I kind of I had my fingers crossed that it would show up. But I mean, so that's the only game I would say that I was expecting to see, but did not. Not that I think that it hurts the lineup, but I think it would have been a nice title.
Right, and perhaps SteamWorld Dig 2 might fill that void as well.
Yeah. We mentioned a couple of Metroidvania type games in there. Was there anything in there that I guess the only thing we were both surprised by WarGroove. We did not expect to see. Everything else is something that these are great games, but I don't think we were surprised by anything except for WarGroove, only because we've been wanting and praying for a Advance
something
Wars.
like that.
Yeah, forever.
Yes, and there's been a lot of games on mobile platforms that try to come close to it.
Yeah.
But they never captured that feel. It was never the real mechanics of Advance Wars, and WarGroove seems like that game.
Right, yeah. Several times I heard the words when we were, doing the Pocket Players, a spiritual successor to Advance Wars, and it just was, but it's a free-to-play game where you can buy costumes and power-ups for your units. So I was like, no.
Yeah, you can't do that with Advance Wars. The whole point of the Advance Wars gameplay is that everyone's on a level basis and you build up from scratch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think WarGroove is going to be that game for us, Casey.
Yep, very good, very cool. And this is going to be the end for us, dear friend. That is the end of the show. And thank you everybody who wrote into us, and to everyone who has backed us on Patreon. That is the best way if you want to support this show. Go to patreon.com/theswitchcast. You could pledge $1 a month, and we will be well supported and very grateful, and you might even get some rewards.
Absolutely.
And you can also follow us on Twitter @theswitchcast. You can email me, kc@theswitchcast.com. Another good way to support us is go over to iTunes and drop us a review, or Google Play, or on Stitcher, or on Pocket Casts. Wherever you find us, leave us a great review, and that will shoot us up in the rankings, gets more people to see us. We love people finding out about the show. And you know what? Don't forget about good old-fashioned telling people about us. And then invite your friends to come in and learn about our community.
Right, and I definitely want to stress, our community's rocking right now. We are very active, and everyone is so lively and friendly, and I want to keep that going as much as possible. So spread the word as much as you can, and let's share the joy.
Yeah, and don't forget, next week, like I said, is our first Switch Fest in New York. Check that out if you're going to be in the city.
And until next time,
switch it up.